Okay, so it has been a week since the close of the last session, since you collected your um, quarry and took him back to the hospital. I have questions. What have you done with him for the last week? You haven't been contacted, or you weren't contacted initially by Count Fishwick. What has happened? What have people been doing in that week? And more specifically, what have you been doing with him in that week? Have you been treating him? Have you been ignoring him? Um, what give me an idea about how you have interacted with him collectively. Go.
Well, I assume I'm just doing the usual with him. Giving him a sponge bath, making sure he's taking his
Okay,
meds,
so you're doing the
make
orderly tending
yeah,
to him thing.
yeah.
So you're treating him
He's
as
just
any other
another
patient.
exactly.
Okay.
I might be trying to get in good with him,
Hmm.
be nice to him because I'm obviously gonna have to deal with him for a while and it's better to be on good terms with him.
Hmm.
But besides that, I'm not getting invested.
Okay. Yeah. So you continue doing your job. That's fine. That's perfectly fine. Does anyone else have any level of interaction with him, or do you make any arrangements for him? So before we necessarily answer that question, I'm imagining that there are doctors, mortal doctors, that work at the hospital that
Mm.
actively are trying to help people. They may have odd ideas about how to do it, and I'm imagining being in this hospital, you probably have people who are doing quite a lot of electroshock experiments with people to try and help them out, and kind of trying out all different weird oh yeah, if we heat up this pin and jab it into their brain, that might sort the problem out. Kind of
Okay.
experimental, fairly nasty World of Darkness level mental health um,
I don't know
cures.
what you're talking about. I love when they experiment on me like that. Come on now. It's really shocking, rather stimulating experience.
So, but they are actively doctors, and they're actively trying to do things. So you've got him locked in a cell. He hasn't come through the hospital through the normal channels, so he isn't officially registered as a patient of the hospital unless you make him so.
And
So
We just
go ahead.
should we temporarily register him as like a doe?
I mean, we could put his full name and everything. All we'd have to say is he has some sort of extreme post-traumatic stress disorder, which wouldn't be hard to pull off considering his normal condition.
And
Granted,
has an allergy to the
yeah.
sun.
Mm-hmm.
And then if we find out that the people want him back, we could easily write that as off as going away. So we could just keep him here until we talk to somebody, and once we do, whatever they want done with him, we just do that. Let
okay,
it be. Let it ride. Let it ride.
so you're registering
Now,
him as a patient then.
yes, and I personally am going to make sure that he gets a psych evaluation from our good doctor over here,
Hmm.
and no one else.
When you say the good doctor, do you mean Doctor Black,
Um,
or
yeah,
or
Dr. D.
or do you mean Doctor David,
I do not mean Dr. David.
Dr. David.
or do you mean
I do
Doctor
not mean Dr.
Petrovich?
I mean Dr. Petrovich.
Okay, okay, that's fine.
Because
Sure.
he's the only real doctor. The other one's a chemist, right?
So Dr. Black is a pharmacist,
Pharmacist. Yeah.
and Dr. Petrovich is a coroner. He's more of a medical doctor than a psychologist.
Nah, should be good enough. It'll be
Um,
fine.
but
We'll make it work.
but I mean, as a medical doctor, he may have some insights. If nothing else, he could do like as a coroner, he effectively would be trained as a full on medical doctor, so he'd have some idea about how to do initial assessments and stuff.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
That's why I was just like, we'll make it work. We're gonna lie on the paperwork anyways. What does it
Yeah,
matter?
it's just paperwork. I mean,
Yeah.
who reads it?
As a matter of fact, I'll stop by my good friend, the director, and and have him, if need be, if there's any questions, we'll put down our nice anonymous Dr. Tuttle as emitting physician.
There you go.
Okay.
And I certainly don't read them anymore. At least I don't try to after the fingerprint incident.
Yeah, that was a horrible, horrible mistake.
Oh, you only touch like 50 files, and all of a sudden, end of world, can't read them again.
Well, brat, you should have touched on me.
Oh.
In the meantime, Tobias would be visiting every now and then and bringing him a little blood bag to find out more about what happened. And
Okay.
probably would have got in contact with the Chantry through.
Helena probably tags along on these meetings, and she definitely has taken a curiosity to this. This is one of the few people that she's brought in that she hasn't had to actually make like this. So she's going to keep an eye on them.
Okay. So
Not cause any trouble,
No.
just
No.
curiosity.
that's perfectly reasonable. So for the
And-
first couple of yes, please go ahead.
And Tobias sent one of the the assistants to the Chantry, not by phone. So
You sent a runner.
Mhm.
They'll have a whale of a time with that.
Oh yeah,
I might even write a story about the time when.
and choose whoever.
You're gonna have to
Have fun.
learn Russian then.
I'm sure somebody there can translate.
So after a couple of days, so imagining, so in the first couple of days, the visits to him will probably be, while he's settling in, will probably be mostly Jasper, turning up and doing day-to-day orderly stuff.
Oh, I'm going to be over his shoulder too.
Okay,
Whoever goes, I go with.
that's fine. For the first couple of days, all he does is sit in the cell and sob. By day 3, which is probably, I'm imagining, when Dr. Petrovich has an opportunity to attend, his sobbing starts to abate. He goes through fits of continuous crying and then long periods of silently staring at the wall and rocking backwards and forwards. But it looks like over time he is starting to emotionally settle. Not necessarily cure, but emotionally settle. He's no longer constantly crying. Dr. Petrovich, would you like to make a little roll for me, please?
Yeah, I would love to.
I think, given your medical background, I think what we're going to do, let's just get your character sheet up and have a quick look at it. Why does it come up small? That's ridiculous.
Because I'm small.
Because you are small.
I'm short.
Small and
I'm
perfectly
shortest of group. They're all giants.
Let's have an intelligence plus medicine roll, please.
Yeah, that should be easy. 6 successes.
Wow.
Whoa.
I'm smart but short.
That's,
Even Brat is taller than me.
that's more than 6 successes.
Oh, well, pardon me.
Yeah, that's 7 successes.
Yeah, that's 7 successes.
Brat is taller than most.
No, it's not. It's more than 7 successes because it's 2 10s. So that comes up as 4 successes rather than 2.
See, I'm really smarty pants.
So that's 8.
I think you did it.
Well,
So, yeah, he quite clearly is suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, but there is something else underlying it. Your experience of, actually, I better check to see if you have any experience of the thing that I'm about to say. So you will be familiar with the discipline of dominate, even if you aren't particularly skilled with the discipline of dominate. You will have seen the effects of it firsthand. There is some kind of dominate or dominate-like effect in place on him, which is quite likely to be the initial cause of whatever is happening here. You think the PTSD is almost certainly a side effect or byproduct of that effect. You think with your role, you think time. So there's two realistic ways that you could treat him that you're aware of, right? One is time, medication, but because he's a vampire, administered through blood and in vast quantities, and an application of dominate to try and reverse whatever has been done in the first place, which may be complicated, is one method of treating him. The other method of treating him would be to introduce a level of trauma higher than he originally received in the first instance to try and circumvent. You think that the secondary effect is happening, and you think that the primary effect is hinged on the trauma, and if you provide him with a higher level of trauma, you might be able to jolt him out of it. You might give him fairly significant side effects that happen as a result of it. But
I feel like there's just a long side eye from Dr. Petrovich to Brat while this is going through the mind.
And that would be, if you're successful with it, the quick and dirty way of shunting him out of his current situation. He almost certainly, however, will have long-lasting and long-reaching implications on him.
Dr. Petrovich.
Strong first impressions.
Dr. Petrovich will relay things to the Brat, and then say, "What do you believe would be best way? I think number 3 would be best way."
And for fun way. Fun for me.
So you are up to it? If you are successful, you can go down the chute 3 times tonight.
Yes.
And even have some candy.
What kind of candy?
I don't know. What do you like?
Rats.
What is type A?
Do you like type A?
I like to try.
Fine, type A is the thing.
Okay.
So do your best.
If allowed, about this time, can I be coming and wheeling a small, hospital trolley in through the door? On the top is a couple of blood bags and a couple of vials, some named lithium, others named, lysergic acid diethylamide.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness.
Sure. I don't mind. If you also don't succeed, then there is my way, too. Just throw out the ways and then my way.
Okay.
It will be messy.
So you think that the slow way will probably take months, and you think that you could be successful if you found somebody that was skilled enough with dominate to be able to undo the original effect with it, and it might take a while to do, and you'll also have to treat him with the PTSD side of things. The quick way will almost certainly shunt him out of his current situation and enable him to be able to talk about his experience, but he will almost certainly be you're going to be breaking this man, likely for a significant amount of time, if not for all time.
It's even better.
And also opportunity. Anyway, plus I'm sure Tobias has a way with the other things, if it's not successful, to be more horrible than the Brat. So
Yeah.
I was just delivering these for you. Here's about half a dozen blood bags, and the one marked in green is, the special one.
Oh, the special one. Is it for Nigel over here? Is Nigel still crying? Or not?
At this moment in time, Nigel is staring into the corner of the room. He never catches your eye. He rocks backwards and forwards, and very occasionally, if you ask him pointed questions, particularly about what happened to him, he will stop and sit very still for a short period of time, and then go back to rocking backwards and forwards. You think that he is aware of your presence, but is finding it difficult to interact.
Right now, he's not useful to us in any way. So this is special concoction?
Special in that just the delivery method. These are standard. The one in green is from someone who has a severe ultraviolet allergy.
Well, let's deliver it. And then, Brett, you begin your treatment. Is it okay if we watch, or can we be in room? What?
I don't know. You really want nightmare?
I'm already in a nightmare.
Dayman? Do you want
Fine,
Dayman?
I will leave. You'll hear like the clicking and him limping out.
If you need me, I'll be in the Nymphomania wing.
Of course you will be. As always. Right, when you're finished, come to morgue, to my office. But please, remember to knock and do not come across threshold. It'd be bad
Okay.
for you.
Okay.
Okay, have fun. Bye-bye.
Yes.
Click, 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 click.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't know what I did to deserve this. Is this trap?
You volunteered.
This might be trap. Okay. So
Meanwhile, I've got 2 bags that I've kind of slipped into my lab coat pocket, and I head out to find our erstwhile orderly to see if he's interested in just hanging out and having an afternoon drink.
Oh, should we do a hunger check? No.
We'll do one for the week. So we'll do one later when we launch this session. So these bits are effectively little scenes that are happening in the week to give us a baseline for what's happening.
Okay.
He does. He does want to have a nice drink. Unless you mean blood. He's got enough of that. But he'll have moonshine.
Oh, what about moonshine saturated blood?
Also, Hell, during this week, Tobias would like to perfect his particular ritual with the help of his people. I know I've already learned it, but
yeah, you're doing some experimentation with it. That's perfectly fine.
We'll call it a Bloody Joseph.
it would
Blood
be
mixed
very
with
bloody.
moonshine.
what is status of the hall? Do we have any other special guests?
You don't currently have any special guests.
No other special guests. I've been left to do this. Rule clarification. A skill specialty is only an additional die, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Going to shore up a few things. Is he staring towards the door or towards the corner?
So he stares at the wall, but when the door opens, he turns his body physically into the corner. So he's sitting on the bed, and he literally turns away from the door and towards the corner. Do you need some time to think about this, Toasty?
Oh, I have an idea.
Okay.
And Silence of Death is just baseline for me. It's always active.
Mm-hmm.
To be lovely. It's going to be terrible, but it's going to be lovely. And I'm sorry, we may need repairs. Small ones. So, she walks to the end of the hall, following the others, and then slowly closes the door behind them. And they hear a soft click. This is unusual for her. Usually she's much more brash about her actions, but this is polite almost. And then they hear several loud thuds into the heavy metal of the door, and then up higher against the stone, and they start hearing it across the ceiling, skittering away. And as it goes, these are intentionally loud. You can tell that they have been struck with such force that it supersedes the supernatural miasma of sounds which usually clings to her. There's a pop of a light, and it flickers and then dies, and the room becomes slowly, gradually more and more dim as you hear pop, 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 faster and faster to the door on the other end, which slowly opens and creaks its way to the remaining light source outside of it to get his attention. And then I'm going to, if you don't mind, roll stealth
These
to
two.
get in through the door while he's looking at it
Mhm.
as the last light flickers.
And he is looking at the door.
Mhm.
So, as the door opens,
He's
if you're not
skirting
visible,
in across the ceiling.
Yeah. okay. So
Yeah.
if you're not visible, as the door opens, you will see that where he was sitting on the edge of the bed, rocking backwards and forwards, he has stopped and he turns to look slowly towards the door, his eyes wide and his mouth agape. Are you visible as you're skittering in or not?
She is not intending to be. She is clinging to the ceiling, keeping herself pressed against it.
Are you letting the sounds come out though?
No, not for this.
Okay.
Not for this particular point.
Then-
She will drop down behind him on the bed
Okay.
silently so that the ripple of the weight alerts him.
Okay. Yeah. That you do that. You drop down onto the bed next to him. He visibly jumps off the bed. I mean, literally in panic. His entire attention was at the door. When he feels the weight hit the bed next to him, he literally jumps off and away towards the door and starts running.
As he does so, as she lands, right before he springs away, she whispers something to him in his ear, just to see if the language has an effect on him first.
Mhm.
And then as he begins sprinting, he can hear the footsteps picking up faster and faster behind him.
When you whisper into his ear, he takes 2 fast steps towards the door and then stops. You can see him visibly shaking.
Mm-hmm.
And he slowly kind of crumples to the ground into a ball. You can't see his facial expression from where you're sitting, but he visibly, like, he takes off in panic in the first instance, and then he stops. He's physically shaking in terror, and he just slowly, his muscles start to let go, and he just slowly crumples to the floor and then tightens himself into a ball. You can hear a moaning sound coming from him.
Are there any particularly strong scents about him? In this change, anything about his person, a scent that becomes more pronounced?
Not scents per se, because being a vampire, that he doesn't really put much out. You could, let's see, you could do a wits insight roll.
Okay.
Remember, you can rouse if you want to rouse in order to increase your blood pool.
I did earlier. And then I can reroll up to 3 of those, correct?
You can. Well, You can re-roll up to one of those.
One, right? Because the other are hunger.
Yeah.
I will attempt it.
Can I make a metagame suggestion?
You can.
Mhm.
There's a table sitting there with half a dozen blood bags on it that you could have assuaged some of your hunger.
Thank you. Didn't matter.
So you can't get a sense from him. I mean, the one thing that you almost certainly can tell is that when you whispered in his ear, his reaction. So he jumped off the bed and started running before he registered what you said to him, and when you whispered to him, that his body language changed.
Okay, interesting. She's going to quietly fall across the floor towards him, leg over hand,
Mhm.
like a bug, and then peer over him to try and get a look at his expression.
Okay. You are more than familiar. I'm not going to make you make a roll. You are more than familiar with the facial expression that you're looking at. His teeth are chattering. You can hear a low moaning sound. He has been pushed to a level of terror where his brain has short-circuited. He effectively is absolutely petrified. And he wasn't like that when you went into the room. He wasn't even like that when you scuttled in across the ceiling and dropped onto the bed next to him. It was when you whispered.
Ooh. She just leans in and whispers, "Boo," to him.
He tenses for a second. In fact, he just tenses. He's already curled up into a defensive ball, but he tenses further. His eyes are screwed shut.
That's no fun. That's her thinking to herself, that's no fun that he can't see right now. Mm. Let's see. What should I do to you?
At this moment in time, he's pretty much entirely unresponsive. You'll get if you touch him, you'll see his muscles tense. If you speak to him, his muscles will tense, and that's all the reaction you get out of him.
She will give a very soft chuckle to herself, although a little bit sad that it was possibly this easy. And then blindfold him abruptly by tearing cloth from the bed and coming back over.
I mean, you could just
Bind him.
put a pillowcase over his head, to be fair.
Okay. I mean, if we want to be heathens about it, yes. He gets a pillowcase on his head and then he gets hog-tied, picked up, and tossed down chute.
Okay.
She calls down, or rather, she will let that happen, but as that happens, she will walk back over to in the hallway where it has one of the speaking tubes, flip it open and go, "Delivery on way."
Thank you. How did it go?
Dunk, 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 dunk.
Oh. Come on down.
And then she will merrily skip her way back down. As the hall is bereft of light bulbs and has minor indentations on the walls and ceilings.
Broken glass all over the floor.
All over the floor.
Yeah.
I'll be right back.
Okay. Dr. Petrovich, you are delivered a tied and blindfolded, entirely unresponsive body.
Oh, hello.
He is
Boys, come.
no longer crying, but he is now just entirely unresponsive. You summon the boys. After a short period of time, the door will open, and Mishka will walk in, looking fantastic. He gives you a half smile and then plops down on the stool in the corner.
The breath broke him, so we must let him rest and then see how the results went.
After a minute or two longer, the door will open and the others will come in. They are all talking excitedly about how one of them got a new axe recently and almost cut the arm off another one. And they're all laughing about it.
Tobias will tap his walking stick on the floor to get their attention.
They stop and look at you. Well, three of them stop and look at you, and the other one continues talking for about 2 seconds longer, realizes what's going on, and then stops and falls into line.
Focus. We have to get this Tremere back to normal. The brat did some things to break a dominate, so we must see how it goes. So look at him and tell me what you think. Da?
Da, all round.
Mishkin, make sure to give me your assessment as well. Why prepare something special if it did not work? And while they're making the assessment, Tobias will get a vial and then he's putting his vitae in the vial.
Okay. So the boys untie him, they leave the blindfold on him, and then they retie him to the gurney. And they do a really professional job of tying him up. It's not just his wrists. They put fabric around his hands and then tie his hands to the side of the bed, and then his wrists, and then his elbows. They do the same thing with his thighs, his knees, and his ankles. So he's properly secured. They then start. One of them starts cutting the buttons off of his clothing and taking his clothes off of him. With a fairly large and unpleasant-looking knife. They strip him down, and Mishka all the while is standing next to them making notes, looking dispassionately at what they're doing. If you're happy to let them carry on doing what they're doing, the one with the knife will start making a few incisions into the chest and body cavity area. And every time he cuts in, not deep, just making slices into the flesh. Every time he does so, they all pause for a second and look towards the head to see if there's any reaction.
Tobias won't stop him. He'll just continue.
One of them goes out and comes back with a power drill.
No power drill yet.
Wait, let me try something.
Oh, hello, Brat.
Hello.
Oh. Why didn't you go down shoot?
I wanted to make sure I did it right first.
Oh.
You said if I did it right, I could.
True. But it wouldn't count as one of your other shootings.
She moves over to the essentially body, leans over and gently traces a long nail over the ear before whispering into it.
Okay. So the Dr. Petrovich, would you like to make a roll for me, please? Could you do a wits insight check for me, please?
Sure. It's... Why did I do that? Oh, okay, that's what it's...
Okay, so
3.
while the boys are performing their analysis, if you're watching what's going on, will notice that there is almost no reaction from him at all. I mean, he's properly tied down, but you don't see a lot of physical reaction, even to the cutting. There isn't a lot of physical reaction to the situation. You can hear a low moaning sound coming from him. That's been the case since he came out of the chute. He's obviously he seems to be completely non-reactive to anything. When the brat whispers to him, his body tenses up. You can see him actively fighting against the bindings.
Keep whispering to him. This is very interesting. Yes, keep whispering to him. He's not bothered by their assessment. He seems to be responsive to you, so continue. Please. Pretty please. Fine, you can go down, shoot 4 more times.
Okay. I'd have done it for sure, but I like these.
Okay. Well, fine, then I take it back.
No, too late. Already accepted.
Okay, I got it.
She whispers something that sounds... I mean, if you...
Sing-songy.
Yeah, lyrical.
Small... Yes.
Lyrical. And his moaning gets louder. And you can see him. The gurney is starting to shake where he's fighting against the bindings. He doesn't. You're pretty confident that he doesn't have much of a chance of being able to escape from this. There is a moment where one of the bindings starts to break, and the boys are on it immediately and secure it. He's putting a lot of strength into this. But he's too well restrained. After about halfway through the lyrical whispering sound, he relaxes. He just stops. You can see his chest rising and falling. It's like he's gone. It's like he's completely relaxed.
Nigel. Oh, Nigel.
She's crouched down, eye level with him. Eyes of the beast active.
Well, he's got a pillowcase over his head, so it's that's not massively intimidating. But...
No, that's perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine for when it's removed.
Okay.
Nigel, can you hear me?
You see the pillowcased head nod.
Good. Talk. Speak. Use your words.
She motions for one of the boys to take the pillowcase off.
Do it.
It's wrenched unceremoniously from the head. There's a clunk as the head hits back on the gurney.
That is all about the treatment.
His eyes are squeezed shut as hard as they possibly can, and his teeth are not stuck together, but they're kind of ground together, just like that. Yeah, in a grimace.
Clenched. Gotcha.
You can see the muscles in his jaw are incredibly tight.
Can you talk?
There is a 3 or 4 second delay, and then he slowly shakes his head.
Do you need us to continue the treatment?
He shakes his head. He shakes his head quite vehemently.
Well, until you speak, we have to continue the treatment because you're not useful to anybody. Not to yourself, not to Glenn, not to anyone. Right. Continue.
She will resume the lyrical whispering of whatever it is she has decided to torment him with.
He tries to turn his head away from you. I mean, he can't escape,
He can't
but
lose.
he tries to turn his head away from you to try and get away from him.
You
Whatever it
can
is that you're
actively feel her breath on his face.
whatever it is that you're singing to him is more powerful than the experience that he's previously had.
And just think, Nigel, I nearly did what I do best, so this is a good alternative. And you know my reputation.
He nods.
Continue, Brett.
She quite happily will indulge the good doctor in this.
Mishkin, continue taking notes.
Mishkin looks up from his notebook and says in Russian, "What?"
Continue taking notes. Don't be idiot.
What was doing?
Take notes. Also, get some of this vitae in a soup.
Ivan will probably do that.
The most terrifying recitation of one fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish.
Ivan will put the power drill down on the gurney, and he'll administer the vitae. As soon as he does that, Boris picks it up and moves away from the head that everyone's paying attention to towards the feet. You hear him chuckle as the drill starts to engage.
Ah. It's mine. Mine.
You hear him say something utterly incomprehensible to you, which Tobias will understand as, "Hey, you've got that end, I'm having this end."
She will literally roar at him.
Put Val in refrigerator.
Yeah.
And listen to Brett. I mean, Helena.
Thank you.
So this carries on. The sing-song goes on, and his physical reactions don't seem to change. His eyes are squeezed shut. His teeth are in a almost looks like a grin. His jaw muscles are achingly tight. He's no longer fighting against his bindings, and frankly, whatever the boys are doing to him, if they try to do anything while you're, and they do throughout the whole period of this, they'll every so often when they think no one's paying any attention to them, they'll start cutting him again, or one of them will take his they'll like start pulling hairs out of his legs, or they'll find some surgical tool and just stick it in the bottom of his feet. Anytime you guys aren't paying attention to them, they'll continue doing whatever they want to do, but they'll stop as soon as they get told off.
About how long are we at it for now?
I mean, I'm imagining it probably goes on for maybe a minute or so before his mouth opens. You see the his jaw muscles start to relax, and he opens his mouth and he lets out a very deep, long moan, and you can see that his tongue has been bitten. It's literally bitten his tongue, like severed it across the middle section of it and swallowed it.
Well, that is unfortunate, Nigel.
He's
We'll
just
recall it.
moaning.
It's fine.
Sorry, Toasty, say again.
We'll recall. It's fine.
One more time, Ellie? I did not hear that.
It will regrow. It is fine.
That's true.
Just sign I'm doing job.
Oh, it is wonderful job. Have a rearrange a bit of schedule, so...
Nigel.
He turns his face towards you. He doesn't open his eyes.
Do not speak. Right.
He nods.
Pen. Paper. She looks at the boys expectantly.
Mishka tears a piece of paper out of his notebook and hands you his pen. As you're turning towards him, he's done it immediately.
She will take them and place the pen in Nigel's hand.
So the boys will untie the bindings around his hand.
Mm-hmm.
Only
Eyes
his dominant
open.
hand.
Nigel nods.
I want you to look at me. Look.
It takes a couple of seconds. His eyes slowly unclench and then flicker open.
Good. Now write answers. And she looks over to the doctor. You ask question, he answer.
Okay, good. This is appropriate. Do you know who dominated you?
He just draws an X. And it's quite a shaky X at that.
So he does not know. Can you describe what they look like?
It takes him quite a long time to write, and his handwriting is very shaky. It's written all in block capitals, and it's very shaky. And part of it's because he can't see what he's doing, but part of it's because there's a sort of persistent shake to his hand as he's writing. He writes man, tall, long black hair. Beautiful.
Beautiful man. Hmm.
He then looks across at Helena again, like for a brief second, looks suspiciously at her, and then back at Tobias.
And you've never seen this man before.
Another X.
He
Good.
just returns a confused look.
Hmm. Can you think of anything to ask him?
Maybe if you gathered your companions, they would have other things to add.
Ivan, go get others.
He
I can
says
go.
again something incomprehensible that Tobias understands to be "oh, for fuck's sake," as he
Do it!
has his
Stop
shoulders
complaining!
slump and he drags his feet across the floor as he goes out the door.
If later you could have a extra vodka and a pickle, but until then, you cannot have it.
Pickle?
Yes, pickles.
You hear him running.
That's got the pickle out of his ass to make him move faster. Very good work, Helena. I think it is appropriate to have bear in here.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Is my job after all.
True. Oh, Nigel, drink this, and he'll hand him the vial that he had taken the vitae out of his arm. Tobias's arm. Here, drink this.
He looks at it suspiciously for a while, and then he just drinks it.
Good. Hopefully it is healing for you. Also, let's get you some other blood so you can begin healing tongue, okay?
Oh yeah, I left it upstairs.
Oh, you did? I got extra. Michigan, go into the refrigerator and get blood. What do you like, Nitro? Do you like type O, type A, type B?
He just looks at you.
A, B?
A.
What do you?
A.
A?
Both
Okay. A. 2 A's. It is, Michigan?
Meanwhile, upstairs, Jasper, Ivan barrels into whatever corridor you happen to be working in at this moment.
I am in the rec room.
Okay, in that
with,
case, he charges in through the door. He stops for a second, puts his hands on his knees and breathes really heavily, and then says a whole series of incomprehensible Russian-sounding words at you.
I just stare at him blankly.
Wait,
I have no idea what he said.
wait a minute. I think I know what he's saying. What is it, boy? What is it? Is that you, Lassie? What are you trying to tell me? Timmy fell down the well again?
He starts making quite exaggerated hand signals. Some of them look a little bit concerning. One of them looks like it's like the trigger of a gun. And then some kind of like soaring motions. And you hear the word Tobias in that. In the broken Russian text, and then he just points to the door and runs out.
Do you have any idea why he would be telling us about his date night?
No idea whatsoever, sir.
After a couple of seconds, he comes back and stands in the doorway, like puts his hands up in the air, utterly exasperated, points down the corridor, says a whole series of words that include the word Tobias, and then storms off again.
Well, I understood Tobias there, so let's go that way.
Oh, don't forget your drink.
I give him a cheers. I take a drink.
Yeah, empty the glass, and then I'll head out with Jasper.
Okay.
I give a whistle and tell Princess to tag along.
Oh, Princess! As soon as you get up, Princess will get up out of her spectacularly expensive bed.
So you think they took my advice and did the easy way? I mean, there was plenty of stuff on there. There was, I had the LSD, I had the lithium, I had the sodium pentothal. All that would have worked just fine.
I don't think they know. You want to know? I bet he's dead. Knowing those two, I bet he's dead.
He's a Tremere, isn't he dead already?
Well, now, yeah, but I mean like dead.
Okay. At least the third or fourth time. Got it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, back from the undead to dead.
Upgraded. Got it.
Yes, exactly. I nod to him, even though I have no idea what he's talking about. And I quickly make my way to the morgue.
Okay. It doesn't take you very long. You arrive. Ivan is standing outside the door, propped up against the wall, looking utterly exhausted. He says some words to you and then opens the door and stands and gestures for you to go in.
Remind me to carry my paperclip slingshot with me next time, would you? I think this would have been more fun chasing him that way.
Probably.
Which can be heard by the other two as we walk in the door.
Welcome, my dear Baron. We have prepared him. He is now talking. Well, ish. He's got to heal his tongue.
Well, that's absolutely amazing. What has he said so far?
He'll hand him the notes that he's been writing. Here, my dear Baron, you may read.
So the piece of paper is slightly crumpled. It has words on it. They're very disorganized, but you can read them.
What's it say?
It says,
I'm just going to look at him.
It says cross, and then it says tall man, long dark hair, beautiful, and then another cross.
I'm going to look straight at them and ask, what's it say?
He looked at me, so I think he might think I'm beautiful. We should be careful.
I'm going to hand it to David the human. What's it say?
It sounds like they're describing, like, maybe one of the Bruja or something. I mean, tall, beautiful, long dark hair. That's like Mr. Kicks for one.
I nod and start stroking my chin.
Of course,
Is he?
there are many people that rock that look. To be fair, so
Is he still awake? Is he still good to go?
He's looking at you.
He's looking at me. Does he still have the bag over his head?
No.
No.
No? Why were you following?
Tobias will give him the piece of paper and the pen to write.
He writes, Diabolist.
Okay, so you knew about that.
He nods. He nods quite exaggeratedly. I mean, it's like he's kind of excited about the fact that he knew.
How'd you get on his trail?
He'll write on the piece of notepaper, and by now the notepaper is quite full of text, so he's starting to write over the top of what he was writing in the first place. He writes,
over.
Spotted on patrol.
I'm assuming that he is writing this down and somebody else is reading it. I'm pacing across the other side of the room.
I mean, he's writing it down. Whether someone else is reading it, I don't know.
Sure, we can just say that Tobias is reading it out all the time that way.
Yeah.
Okay, so you spotted him. But how did you just realize you didn't know who he was and that he was a vampire and you decided to go after him? What's going on here? How did you know? I'm gonna need more to go on than just tall and pretty, sir.
He goes still for 2 or 3 seconds, looks up at the ceiling, and then scribbles on the paper on the piece of paper, "I'm Tremere, for fuck's sake."
Which, for some reason, is in perfectly clear handwriting.
Yeah, this text is significantly more ordered.
I've done very good. He already has sass back.
I'm just gonna stick up my middle finger at him real quick and give him a strong one of these and be like, "Listen, man, we got 2 options here. You can help me and I can help you, or I can throw you back out there and I'll bring her along with you." And I'm going to point at...
He shakes his head. He shakes his head quite emphatically.
That's what I thought. So, let's play nice with each other, shall we? I need more to go on than tall, dark, and fucking handsome.
Tall like me or tall like him? And she points to Baron.
He obviously he's quite well tied down, but he just points his finger at you, Helena.
Ah. Wait, this might be bad. I thought he might be smitten, so he might just be overwhelmed and pointing to me.
Why don't you go up there and give him a kiss?
He writes on the piece of paper, "accent."
There we go. That's something to go with. What kind of accent?
Like good doctor and myself.
He writes, "subtle, perhaps Scandinavian."
Okay. That's something to work with. Where did you originally spot him?
Yeah, I was going to say, let's get landmarks of the route along the way before we know where it ended.
Yeah.
Exiting alley, and then he gives the address of a building on the high street.
Any stops along the way?
Just an X.
What time did you see him?
He gives you the time in 24-hour notation down to the minute.
Okay.
It would have been probably about 3 hours before you were called.
Okay.